and girls, Mrs. Lomont here again for our third week together. This week we're going to talk about Lewis and Clark, and we're going to focus again on main idea. Quick review of main idea. What is the text mostly about? Okay, so let's look at our pizza here. We all love pizza. Well, pizza, our whole pizza, would be our main idea. The details would be your toppings that go on your pizza. So how do I find the main idea? Well, remember our clues. Look at the title and the heading. Look at the pictures, if you have pictures to look at. Look for words used more than once. Remember those repeated words. Reread the first and last sentence.
Right.
Boys and girls, here's a couple of words that you may see, you may not see, but are really good to go with our story. Our first word is trek. Trek means to walk. It's another word for walk. Our next word is navigate. To navigate is to look for something. And our last word is expedition. An expedition is a long journey of exploring.
I'm ready.
Okay, boys and girls, before we get into our story, let's go ahead and look at the map of Lewis and Clark and their expedition. Now, they're also known as the Corps of Discovery. That's what their expedition was called. So they started here in St. Louis, and they went up the Missouri River up into North Dakota territory. It's at Fort Mandan that they meet their guide, Sacagawea, and you'll get to know her in a little bit. Then they move on, and they explore, become the Missouri River, all the way out to Oregon to Fort Clatsop. From there, they turn around and they come back. However, Lewis goes one way and Clark goes another, and then they meet back up and then rejoin in St. Louis. This journey took them over 2 years to complete. Okay, our story today is Lewis and Clark, American Explorers. More than 200 years ago, in 1804, two explorers made an important journey. They were named Meriwether Lewis and William Clark. Today, people know a lot about the places they visited, but 200 years ago, there were no maps of that part of the United States. They would travel by boat most of the way, and they would make the first maps of that part of our country. They were going to trace where a great river went. The river they were mapping is a very big one called the Missouri River. They wanted to find out where it went. They hoped it would take them to the ocean. They took many people with them to help with the exploration. There were more than 40 people on the trip. They also carried many supplies, including a lot of food. They hoped they would find food along the way, but this was long ago and they did not know what the territory would be like. The explorers had 3 boats that carried them and their supplies. It was summer when they started on this long trip. They traveled slowly, each day traveling a short distance because they had to row their boats on the river. They would only travel a few miles every day. They traveled for months and were still far from their destination. In winter, it was difficult to travel, so they camped along the river. There they would wait for spring when traveling would be easier. Snow and ice made it very hard to travel in winter. Native Americans helped them along the way. They helped them get food, and they showed them where places were. The explorers had never been to this area before, so they were not sure where to find food or even where the river went. The Native Americans had lived there for many years, so they knew the area and how to survive there, even in the hard winter. A Native American woman named Sacagawea helped them travel. She became their guide, and she traveled with them for months. It was hard work for everyone, including Sacagawea. The explorers needed her help to find their way to the west. They wanted to find out how to get to the ocean. As they traveled, they made maps. Their maps showed the way the river went. It passed through grasslands, and then they were in mountains. When they got to the mountains, they had to leave their boats and walk. It took more than a year for the explorers to get to the ocean. When they got there, they had made maps that would help many people, but they had to bring the maps back. It had taken more than a year to make this first part of the trip. It also took a long time to get back. When the explorers came back in 1806, they had been gone 2 years, and people said they were heroes. They would not make such a great journey again. They had done their job. Their maps would help people settle in the new land. Long after their trip, people would build roads to the west. They would travel quickly by car. Today, people can travel their route by plane. If you look out the window from the plane, you will see those high mountains. You will see what a difficult journey it was. Okay, boys and girls, now for our questions. In this case, we have a Part A, Part B. Part A is, which of the following best identifies the central idea of this article? Remember, central idea means main idea. A, Lewis and Clark set out on their journey with hopes of becoming famous. B, Lewis and Clark made an important trip west to help create one of the earliest maps of the United States. C, the only goal of Lewis and Clark's journey was to discover the location of the Missouri River and where the river ended. D, before they began their journey, Lewis and Clark used maps of the western United States to decide the best route to take. Remember to put your answers in our Remind app when I upload the story, or on the YouTube channel where it's shared on our Facebook page in the Facebook comments. 2, 3. Part B. Remember, Part B answers Part A. Which phrase from the text best supports the answer to Part A? A, they wanted to find out where it went. They hoped it would take them to the ocean. B, they traveled slowly, each day traveling a short distance because they had to row their boats on the river. C, the Native Americans had lived there for many years, so they knew the area and had to survive there, even in the hard winter. D, it took more than a year for the explorers to get to the ocean. When they got there, they had made their maps that would help many people. Okay, boys and girls, this week our writing prompt is going to be with summarizing. So to quickly go back over summarizing, I made a quick little chart for us. Okay, remember your 5 hands, your 5 fingers. Oh, that's a blooper by Mrs. Loma. You have first, next, then, and last. Remember, a summary is a shorter version of the text. It retells the main events or details of the text. So when you do your summary for our text today, you can use first, next, then, or last. Okay, so boys and girls, here's our writing prompt. You're going to write a summary of Lewis and Clark's expedition. That is your summary. You're going to summarize the text. Remember, tell only the most important events. You may use first, then, next, and then last. Okay, boys and girls, just like last week, I gave you some other resources to look at. Well, this week I'm doing the same thing. We have several that you can go to YouTube and watch. Studiesweekly.com. One is the Louisiana Purchase, because that's what Lewis and Clark were exploring. Then you have one on Lewis and Clark, the Historic Trail. And then there's one on Sacagawea, their famous guide and what she did for them. Our last one is Brain Pop. Brain Pop, again, the login is locked, the password is learn. With Lewis and Clark, you have a variety of things you can do there. There are games, there's quizzes, so take full advantage of that. Boys and girls, I enjoyed our time today, and so did Mrs. Bledsoe. She's a great camera woman. We can't thank her enough. I'll see you next time.